Hey guys, welcome back to another Warframe video, where today we are going to be taking a look at hunting Eidolons as a duo, so a squad of two. Just before we get into the nitty gritty, I do have a couple things that I want to say. The first one is that very soon, hopefully, I will be able to stream the Warframe Done Efficiently series playthrough, which I have on my account. If you haven't seen that, highly recommend it. Go and have a look. I will leave a link to it down in the description below. So that's going to be all the nitty gritty stuff, including Eidolon hunts, that you don't really see me do on camera when I upload those videos on Tuesdays. So yeah, do go and have a look at the series, and I will be releasing further information on a streaming schedule in the coming weeks, hopefully. So keep an eye out for that, and let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested in catching me live. So yeah, the second thing that I want to say is in relation to this video, I want to give a big shout out to Shelly, who I have been running with for these hunts. He has been a huge help, gradually easing me back in to duo hunting. It has been years and years since I have hunted in a duo squad, so huge thanks to him for kind of teaching me the ropes a bit. This was a bit of a learning experience for him as well, because he actually tends to play the role that you're going to be seeing me play in this video, rather than the DPS role, and we will be having a separate video on that hopefully next week, but there might be a bit of a delay, so bear that in mind. There will be a second video coming out on the second role in this duo scenario, but this week we are going to be focusing solely on Nova VS, and by VS I mean Void Strike. That is kind of an old term, since Void Strike has changed a bit from what it used to be, but essentially the role of the VS player is to take down the shield of the Eidolon. The DPS player shoots the limbs, gets the cap shots, but the VS player takes down the shields. So what we're going to do, I'm going to run you through Nova VS, which is a frame that a lot of the very fast hunters are currently using. It is a really, really good option, and it's a great alternative to just running 2 volts, and it does speed up your hunts quite significantly, actually. So yeah, we'll hop through the build. If you haven't seen my previous Eidolon guides, I would recommend going and have a look at those, because there's quite a few tactics and strategies that will be employed in this video, which I might not cover since I've covered them across in previous videos. So do go ahead and have a look at those, my 6-cap guide, my advanced Eidolon hunting guide, all of those, go and have a look, because yeah, there'll be stuff in there that will help you to understand what's going on in this video. Obviously there's going to be a few things that I'll have to talk about, but yeah, without further ado, let's run through the build, and then I'm going to hop into the planes quickly before night, just to run through some of the strategies that we'll employ, so you guys can understand what you're going to see in a commentated run, which we will then do after that. So yeah, lots to get done, so let's crack on with it. Here is our Nova Prime. We are running Archon shards here, or Archon shards, and we have 3 Crimsons, all on ability duration. I've then got a Talforged Amber on effectiveness on energy orbs. This one isn't necessary at all. And then I've also got an Archon shard for armor, just for a bit of extra durability. I would recommend having some extra duration on here. If you can't afford to get extra duration on it, then I would recommend altering the build on the Nova Prime slightly to increase the duration there. So let's have a look and see what's going on. We've got ourselves Corrosive Projection, Enemy Sense, Stretch, Alga Message, Alga Reach, Overextended, Prime Continuity, Umbral Vitality and Intensify, and then Streamline. Now, Enemy Sense you could probably sub out for something else if you would prefer. I'm just using it for locating Vonvlists on the map, really, that's about it. But, if you do have Prime Sure-Footed, definitely an option to put in there. And then also running Molt Vigor for extra ability strength on next cast, and also Arcane Nullifier to prevent magnetic status procs from the Eidolon's screams. So those 2 are actually quite important, and I would recommend getting your hands on them. Our strength, as you can see, is quite low. So yeah, the Molt Vigor is going to boost it up a bit, and that's quite important for casting Raw. Raw is going to be useful for water limb shots, and we'll explain that when we get into the commentated run. So yeah, this is something that you want to have helminthed on onto your Nova, and we're going to be using that to both boost the damage of our DPS player and also boost our damage as well in case we get a long spawn, and I'll discuss that a bit more in a bit. But basically, yeah, you want to build around max range, so 265%, as we are building for our portals or wormhole, and you want a decent amount of efficiency. It doesn't really matter, at least 100% is fine. If you're using energy pads, it doesn't matter at all. And then duration up around the 210 to 230% mark, I would say. Mine is quite low, but it's fine nonetheless. You could even sub out Constitution for Alga Message if you have it. So yeah, that's the Nova build. Our Zenith build is the same one that I use in my Eidolon hunting guide, so I am not going to go into this in a huge amount of detail, but if you want to see my Riven, there it is. It's crit damage and multi-shot, negative damage to Grineer. That's the rest of the build there. Now Prime, we're not going to be using at all unless we really, really need to and it's an emergency. But again, here is my Knell crit Riven. So if you want to go and learn more about the Knell, we will be talking about it in hopefully next week's video when we discuss the Vault DPS role. But yeah, this is basically what we're working with on the Knell. And then on the Vastilok, this is quite an important bit for our Nova VS. We need Shattering Impact, rank 3. I will explain why in the Commentated Run. And then some attack speed mods just so that we can shoot faster with it. Madurai, obviously, for our VS role, Void Strike, and everything else that comes with it, including the 30% increased damage from Operator. We've got Power Transfer here for increased crit damage on amps, Contamination Wave for making enemies more vulnerable to amp damage, and various other bits and bobs, including everything here that's been unbound on other skill trees. The run you're about to see is not kind of beginner friendly, I suppose. It's a very, very quick run, and it's more of a min-maxed guide. Not to say that I'm good at this at all, by the way. I want to point that out right now from the off. I am very, very rusty when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I'm definitely not the best at it. But yeah, Madurai, a must-have for this. It's also worth noting as well, and you will see this in hopefully next week's video, that the DPS player is going to be running Unairu Wisp, which will give us another 100% damage on our amp. So that's also worth noting there. Our Parazon doesn't matter, we're not actually going to be using it as the VS role. And for our companion, I'm running Wyrm Prime. This isn't strictly speaking necessary, but if you can get Negate, which prevents status effects from applying every 5 seconds, it can help every now and then if you're bleeding or, you know, you've got mag proc or radiation or whatever. This can assist you with that. Gear-wise, you are going to need a Necromech summon. This is pretty important, as well as some energy pads, I would imagine. You can take your on-call crewmate if you want and put that down after Gantalist. We'll be talking about that more during the run. But the must-haves in this are going to be Necromech Summon and Squad Energy Restore, and obviously Archiwing Launcher to get around the planes. For our Archiwing, we are running Itzal. My usual build, Hyperion Thrusters maxed out, everything else just geared towards durability as well as range and Cold Snap for CCing Vonvalists should we need to assist our DPS player. So that's kind of the main build on the frame side of things. Let's take a quick look at our Operator. I do want to point out that since I'm on my Warframe Done Efficiently playthrough, I am lacking one particular arcane, which is Magus Repair. Now, I would highly, highly, highly suggest that you run Magus Repair on this rather than either Magus Melt or Magus Elevate. You can switch them around however you choose, as it's going to really help keep your DPS player alive. And you will see in this run, unfortunately, I thought I did have this on, but I forgot that I didn't have it. I kind of just leave my Operator alone these days. But you'll see in this run, in the Commentated Run, our DPS player does go down, and it does cause a bit of a scare, but we managed to recover, so that's fine. But yeah, Magus Repair, definitely a good idea to run here, as well as Magus Elevate if you want to keep your health up nice and high, or Magus Melt to apply some heat damage to the limbs. And yeah, 177 amp, definitely worth having. So this is a Proper Scaffold, Certus Brace, Replac Prism. That gives you the optimum, you know, takedown potential of the shields to get them down very instantly, so highly recommend going this. Eternal Eradicate for plus 60% damage on amps on Operator ability, and then Eternal Onslaught for 180% crit chance for 8 seconds. So that's the build. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about the build, go ahead, leave them down in the comments below. I would be happy to reply to any questions you guys have, or even suggestions. But right now, let's just hop into the planes real quick, and we'll have a quick discussion about some of the tactics and various bits and bobs that we're going to look at during this run. Alright guys, so before we get into this run, there's a few things that I want to cover off quickly so that I don't have to discuss them in detail during the run. So first of all, why use Nova? Let's take out that and that and that. The reason to use Nova is that her portals, her third ability, Wormhole, allows you to transport Proper Shots, as you can see. Oh look, there's another one. No, there's not. So yeah. This makes her a very valuable tool, particularly for when the Gantless and the Hydralist first spawn in. Now, right now, there is a bit of a bug as well with Volt's shield. Usually, Volt's shield would prevent knockback from a proper detonation. However, this is currently not the case, and we just get knocked back normally from it, even if we shoot through the shield, which is really annoying. So I'm also going to be using the Nova portals to distance myself from where my proper detonates on just normal shields as well. For Terrorist and Gantalist, you don't actually have to do this anyway, but for Hydralist, you could probably do this just to make sure that there's no fall off from the proper detonation. So that's an important thing to note. Now, there's one or two things that you're going to see in this run, which I do want to explain now, so that, like I said, I don't have to explain them in detail. And the main thing is going to be the shrine setup. So when we come to capture Terrorist, or even Gantalist, we're going to be doing a very specific sequence of events in order to set up ready for taking down the first shield of either Gantalist or Hydralist. So the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to, once Terry has been, downed, head over to Longspawn. Now, it is our job to take down every shield of the Gantalist or the Hydralist, wherever they might spawn, including Long. Now, we are going to position ourselves over here and wait for Volt to come over and pre-shield Long spawn. So that's the first thing you're going to see. I'm going to do a few dashes into the floor and then throw out some abilities, and you can see in the top there a 40% strength bonus from Sling Strength on Madurai, and also Molt Vigor, which is that little icon to the right that just popped up there. And that's going to allow me to cast Roar, giving me 54% extra damage, and also that will land on the Volt when he comes over to place the shield, which is important for being able to one-shot the first limb of either the Gantalist or the Hydralist. What we're going to do after that is we're going to head back towards the shrine while the Volt continues to gather up Vonvalists and then capture the Terrorist. We're going to place our Necromech right here on this tuft of grass in front of this rock, just like that. And then we are going to set up our portals for each of the spawns. So you can see I have a waypoint or a lock pin for the mid spawn, and we are also going to then shoot a portal at the Necromech's head. That's going to mark the close left spawn, and then we're going to shoot a portal at close right. Now, the mid spawn lock pin, if you want to know how to place that, you want to come to about here, look up, and it's about 24 to 25 meters up in the air. You can play around with it a bit, and figure it out. Eventually, you'll get the one shot, but that's where it is. So the sequence of events goes as follows. We've gone to Long, we've given our Volt the Roar, we've placed our Necromech on close left, and then we're going to come back to Shrine, and we're going to wait until about 2 minutes and 5 seconds in this case. And then we're going to place our mid portal first, then we're going to place our close left, then we're going to place our close right, and then we're going to head back to Long spawn. Now, when we're at Long spawn, we're going to remove our Necromech from the equation and put him just somewhere out of the way. We're then going to make sure that our Zenith is in semi-automatic mode so that it has infinite punch through, as not only are we going to be responsible for taking down the long spawn shield, should it spawn on long spawn, but we are also going to be responsible for shooting the limb through the floor. Like so. Now in this case, I am with a very experienced hunter, and he manages to pop the limb through the floor before I'm even able to. So bear that in mind when you come to watch this run. I don't actually hit the limb through the floor. My partner does very quickly. So that's the reason. I'm pretty rusty at this. I don't do it a whole lot. So do bear that in mind. Now, in order to get to long spawn extremely quickly, we're going to be utilizing the Unstuck tool. Now, the Unstuck tool essentially allows you to teleport yourself back to the last bit of solid ground that you were standing on. So, for example, if I wanted my operator to appear here, and I was, not on solid ground, and I typed Unstuck into the chat, as you can see, I've already done it, I would get teleported to this exact location. Now, fun fact, the shrine itself, not the rock that it's on, but the shrine, doesn't count as solid ground. Where I'm standing right now, everything I'm walking over, including the back bit right here, does not count as solid ground. So what we can do, once we've placed our portals, and you'll see me doing this, as soon as the DPS player puts their shard in, I am going to begin firing off proper shots through these portals whilst holding X to put my shard in the shrine. As soon as I have fired off my 3 shots, I will be getting unstuck in my chat, which will bring me instantly to long spawn, at which point I will then fire a 4th proper shot into the floor and go to shoot the limb. That's the entire sequence of events. So we start here, we do our roar, give it to our Volt, we come down here, we can put our Necromech here or before, it doesn't really matter. Then we're going to start placing our shields. Let's get rid of these guys. So first of all, we place our mid shield. Then we place our close left. Then we place our close right, which is just above this little white speck here. And then we come down to long. Make sure that our rifle is in semi-auto mode. Remove our necromech. Get into the position we want. Fly back to spawn. Making sure to land on here. Let's take out these guys. And then we're going to be firing 3 shots and then going to long spawn. So let's do that. We go 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, they detonate as so. And then very quickly, I will have had this on my clipboard in order to paste it in. But we're going to then unstuck. Whoops. We've used it too soon. But we would unstuck when, you know, we usually would, like you saw me do earlier, go to long spawn and detonate through the floor and shoot the limb. So that's the entire sequence of events. Hopefully that made some sense. If not, you'll see it in action when we actually come to do it. It's very quick and hard to follow. So yeah, we'll probably just get straight into the run and I'll try and explain as best I can as we go through. Apologies for my voice as well. It's kind of raspy at the moment. I think I've already said that, but yeah, I do have a bit of a cold, so apologies for that. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I want to talk about. One extra thing I will say is that on the Hydra list, we do have a bit of a scare where I actually get downed. And then my DPS player gets downed as well, but we do manage to recover. So yeah, it ends well. This is a 650 or 651 last Hydro Limb run with a long spawn included. So it's not all that bad. But yeah, let's just get straight into the run, guys, and I'll do a bit of commentary over the top. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to do here is we're just going to jump out of the gate and get straight into our Archiwing, and then blink forward once to spawn Vonvalists. There they are over on the left, so we're going to mark that for our DPS player to go and charge. Then we're going to head over to the Terrorist, we're going to dash 3 times into the floor to proc Sling Strength, use 1 ability to get Molt Vigor, and then shoot our Vastilok 3 times, and you can see that stripped the Eidolon's armor to where it's nearly nothing. And then we're going to do our first shot here as his back heel goes down. There we go. So if you don't know about amp timings, then do go ahead. I do have a guide on that, and you'll find that down in the link in the description below. So go and have a look at that if you're confused about how to take down that first shot. It is pretty tricky. But yeah, now we're just going to go back and forth and do our usual 2 propers, 1 replac. I am not worried about getting knocked back from the Terrorist because really, it should be taken down in 1 proper anyway. It's like guaranteed. And because we're so close, we're able to get so close, the fall off from the proper means that even if we don't hit our replac, it's still a 1 shot. It doesn't matter. So yeah, we're going to take it back and forth here. And yeah, once that's done, we'll go ahead and we'll do that setup we just went through for the Gantalist. So here's the last one right here. We've got our VS back up. Bear in mind that when you're playing with another person, your ping is going to be causing you a bit of lag behind when you have to fire your proper. So if you're used to playing on solo, then your timing might be slightly out, so just adjust for that. But what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and place our necromech on that little patch of grass. Then we're going to drop down to long here, proc our Molt Vigor as well as our Sling Strength, use our Roar. There you go, the Volt's landed as well, so he got it. And then we're going to come back to Shrine, and we're going to wait for about 2 minutes and 5 seconds, or at least for the timer to get to 2 minutes and 5 seconds, until we start placing our portals. There we go. So let's place middle, and then left on top of the Necromech's head, and then right just on the coastline there, where you would kind of expect to place the Volt Shield anyway. And then we're going to come down and set up that neat little trick that we saw, remembering to put our Necromech over there. So that's where we want to land. We're now going to head back. And you'll see here we get a long spawn. My DPS player is very quick to the mark here for a 1.7 second shield on long. Unstuck. Shoot through the ground, and there we go. Once again, we're going to strip the Eidolon's armor with 3 shots of our Vastilok. And as I said we were going to, I'm going to distance myself from the proper here. And also ensure that the shields get taken down in 1, since the propers are detonating directly next to him. Therefore, there is no fall off from the proper. And we're going to do this for every single one. I'm placing a portal. My Volt player places a shield, and then I can shoot through that through the portal, and my proper will appear just between his legs. And yeah, once again, we're going to go back and forth like this. And as soon as you've taken down the Gantalist, you're going to set up in exactly the same manner for the Hydralist. What you can do if you find yourself having a bit of time is you can assist your Vault in maybe gathering up some Vonvalists. It's entirely up to you. It's also worth noting that you have to be careful with the portals, as if a lure goes through a portal too many times, then the portal will disappear. So keep an eye on the lures and what they're doing, because it can ruin your run a bit sometimes if they do happen to be a bit out of control and you don't have good lure management. Just bear that in mind. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and set up again. So let's put our Necromech back on that patch of grass. Just having a quick look around here for Vonvalists, don't see any, so we're going to come back, wait for our Vault on long spawn, get our Molt Vigor and Sling Strength up for when we proc Raw, like so. And then we're going to head over to Shrine and get ready to place our portals. Now we're going to place our portals here about maybe halfway to 3/4 of the way through this Gantalist standing up. There we go. So middle, then left. And then right. Then we're going to head back to long. Get our Necromech out of the way. Go to where we want to be when we unstuck. And then we're going to head back to Shrine. Make sure to be very careful to land only on the back bit here or on the Shrine itself. If you touch anywhere else, your unstuck will not work. Cast Void Strike. Hold down X. Shoot Proper. And then unstuck into the floor. This time we were lucky we didn't get a long spawn. We got ourselves a mid spawn. And you're going to see during this fight that things get a bit dicey for us, but we do manage to recover, luckily. But yeah, let's just watch. And we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did for Gantalist right here. We're just going to use the Vault Shield and the Nova Portals to distance ourselves from the proper detonation so we don't get knocked over, allowing us to get a full volley of shots off. So I believe it is going to be the one after this where things start to go downhill. Yeah, so right here I believe I'm not paying attention to my my health, and I happen to go down and then accidentally go into Unairu's last stand. But we're alright for a bit, because I'm just going to go ahead and take down this shield using that. And now when my Vault comes to try and revive me, he's going to go down as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and just use my Void Strike, which I have up, get up nice and close. And take down the shield that way. And there we go. So that was a 650 or 651, I believe. And even with that kind of mistake at the end, still managed to get a decent time in. So hopefully that, guys, gives you an idea of, you know, how Nova can be used in these hunts. Again, apologies for my voice. I've got a cold. It's very tricky. But yeah. Yeah, hopefully that was useful. If you have any questions or anything, leave them down in the comments section below. But what I think we'll do now, we will just go and have a quick chat back in the Orbiter just to round out the video. And then, yeah, we'll call it a day. Alright guys, so I hope that was useful, and yeah, you perhaps, you know, got some new ideas for hunting Eidolons. But yeah, we're going to round out the video here. Once again, I just want to remind people that in the coming weeks, I am going to be releasing a streaming schedule on Twitch. So do keep an eye out for that if you are interested. Otherwise guys, if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. I'll see you later guys.